Hey guys, Vox here, and welcome to my review of Alone at Sea. So, this episode was about Greg and Steven taking Lapis out and having a fun time at sea, and yep, that's the entire episode. Okay, but no, really. This episode was long awaited, and there's so much to talk about. I'm not sure if I can cover everything that I need to talk about in this video, but I'll cover what stuck with me the most. So, the episode begins, and Steven surprises Lapis with a day on the boat at sea, with the intentions of trying to get her re-familiar with water, to try and move past the whole Malachite thing. And this has me thinking, Steven purposely had the trip to Empire City to fix tensions between Pearl and Greg, and now he's taking Lapis out to sea to fix her issues? So, it's kinda like, who's next? We know within the upcoming episodes there'll be an Amethyst arc, including an episode called Steven vs. Amethyst. And even if these episodes are only the 2 episodes Crack the Whip and Steven vs. Amethyst, I wonder if that's about Steven trying to resolve conflict with Amethyst, only for it to horribly backfire. But I digress. So Lapis is really reluctant to go on the boat, and one thing that fascinated me, that actually kind of comes into play later, is that when Greg introduced himself as the man whose leg she broke after stealing the entire ocean, she didn't really apologize. She was just like, I'm Lapis. And then once they're out on sea, they go fishing, and Lapis raises a bunch of fish with her water powers. Well, not even just like specifically fish, just an abundant amount of water. And Greg tells her maybe that's not the best idea. Which kind of comes back to the earlier thing. Clearly Greg is still kind of cautious after the whole ocean incident. And clearly it's still bugging Lapis because she seemed kind of embarrassed by it. And when Steven was praising her for her strength, she kind of just shut him up subtly. As if she doesn't want to be reminded of what she can do. As if she's still trying to come to terms with the whole ocean incident. Of the people she hurt and the people who could have been hurt. How it could have really messed up the earth. So she tries fishing the normal way, and she finally catches on to something. Which was never really confirmed, but strongly alluded to be Jasper. And it makes sense. And Lapis either feels like it's Jasper too, or senses that it's Jasper, because she completely freaks out, and then assuming that thing being Jasper, begins damaging the boat, causing it to stop. Steven apologizes and informs her that they may be out at sea longer, and Lapis starts playing the blame game on herself. For the sea, for Malachite, how hard she had to keep fighting Jasper, and Steven reassures her, you don't have to be attached to Jasper anymore. You don't have to be with her. You don't have to be Malachite anymore. That part of her life is over. Well, that's fine and dandy, but Lapis actually reveals that she kind of misses Jasper. She misses Malachite. She misses that power. It's kind of like a withdrawal. And that's likely why she's been going away from water for so long. She doesn't want to be reminded of Malachite. She doesn't want to miss that power. And speak of the devil, and the devil will appear because Jasper soon comes out of the water and lands on the boat. Explain that she's been going after Lapis for quite some time. Now, the legitimacy of that is up in the air. I personally thought and still think Jasper's stranded at sea because Lapis has been at the barn, or at Beach City, or traveling around. I'm sure there are plenty of opportunities beforehand that Jasper could have took to find Lapis. I mean, the last time we saw Jasper was at sea. So I think it was more of good timing than anything. But regardless, Jasper reveals that she wants to be Malachite again, that she was all wrong about fusion, and that Lapis showed her the true way. While it was a pretty apparent message, this entire scene, this entire dynamic, was the topic of abusive relationships. And that is a very serious topic that I am so glad this show is covering. As someone who had to kind of witness abusive relationships growing up, at a very young age, leading to a thankful divorce, in addition to witnessing friends and family going through other abusive relationships, not all of them being romantic, the second I realized Lapis would be in this episode was when I knew exactly what direction they were taking this in. And we kind of had a plot twist here. Many people speculated this during Super Watermelon Island, but Lapis is actually the more destructive one of Malachite. While I'm sure it was still Jasper in control during the Alexandrite fight. A lot of the anger and rage from Malachite, seemingly from both Lapis and Jasper's dialogue, stemmed from Lapis. While they refused, Lapis used Malachite as a way to take anger and frustration out on Jasper, to abuse her, and we kind of saw that in Chilited. Yeah, Lapis was keeping Malachite at bay, but Jasper was forcibly being shut up, restrained. And that's not what fusion is. Fusion shouldn't be who has more power over what. Fusion should be who has more power over whom. Fusion has to be a group effort, And Malachite lacked that. Malachite was a constant battle of control. Malachite was anger and hatred, with no love. All it brought was lust. Lust for more power, lust for more destruction. And Malachite, for all intents and purposes, was an abusive relationship. And if you guys have the book Guide to the Crystal Gems, there actually is a passage on Malachite that I would like to read. These two are really bad for each other. Malachite was formed through extortion and deception and held together out of revenge. Malachite is the worst relationship imaginable. And the scars of Malachite show on both Jasper and Lapis. Jasper is clearly going insane without fusion. She doesn't want to be herself anymore. She doesn't feel the need to be when she knows she can be something bigger and stronger. She's now essentially just a fusion slut, out to get as many as she can. We saw the damage and consequence of an abusive relationship from both the abuser and the victim, because, like it or not, both Jasper and Lapis were abused in this relationship. Lapis even stated she hated Jasper, she loved taking everything out on her, she needed to, and Lapis was the one who tricked Jasper into fusion after all. But in context, it was to save the crystal gems. It was for a good cause, because Lapis had no idea Garnet was taking down Jasper. She just wanted to protect Steven. And now's the best way she saw out. This is as realistic as abusive relationships can get. From the people I've seen in abusive relationships, for a bit, they do crave that abusive partner back. Because for so long, that's who they depended on. They felt like that was the only person they needed. They were manipulated into believing that. And if they try to leave, they're threatened. And even Jasper's lines, most of them was straight from the playbook of abusers.
It'll be better this time. I've changed. You've changed me. I'm the only one who can handle your kind of power.
While all of these lines were a little bit cliche, they were still really effective here, and the second Jasper got on that boat, she just had this whole creepy, rapey vibe. When Lapis got backed into a corner, I was genuinely concerned. And this episode is important to all survivors of an abusive relationship, of abuse, of not just a romantic kind, but any kind. I hope the viewers who have suffered through that can watch this and feel more powerful, look at themselves and say, I survived. And I hope this episode brings in new viewers who have gone through that, who can connect with this, who will go back and watch other episodes of the series and begin following it. And what's just as important, I hope the kids at home watching this learns the message so they know when to get out of abusive relationship in the future, or to even prevent abusers from coming to fruition, so people know when they are being abusive, when to stop, when to back off. And also, between this and Monster Reunion, both of these episodes in their own way was setting up the next arc, which begins next week. Now that we know Jasper's obsessed with fusion, and now that we know how corrupted gems work, or how corruption works to an extent, I already stated in my video I made last night how this can go down. Now, a lot of you guys are wondering why I'm so fixated on the idea of Jasper being corrupted. Well, besides the League Marathon title, we know that Jasper is said to be a complex character. There's more to her character than what we've seen. And at this rate, Jasper won't be redeemed, quote unquote, or even on Steven's good side until she goes through some serious shit. And now that Steven has partially healed a corrupted gem, it's time for him to fully heal one. And even though I believe Centipede should be the first person he heals, I wouldn't be surprised if it's Jasper. Jasper has to have some serious consequence. She has to go through something major before she can go through some kind of redemption arc. And that major thing should be corruption. So, as I stated in my theory last night, I do believe Jasper will start collecting corrupted gems. Maybe even other Jaspers like Ocean Jaspers, other quartzes, in an attempt to fuse with all of them, which will result in this giant fusion monstrosity of corrupted gems. And now that she's already becoming corrupted mentally, and as Garnet stated, corruption's like a tear to the mind, so she's already halfway there. But once that gem DNA, that gem data merges with corruption, she will become corrupted too. Her gem will become corrupted. I mean, I feel like that's the only likely scenario. I feel like that's a very likely scenario. And Monday's episode is called Gem Hunt, so we'll see. But regardless, now we know Jasper's out there, and she wants to fuse, and everyone should be worried. But on the other side, this kind of puts a nail in the coffin for Jasper going back to Homeworld. I mean, they look down on fusion that's not between two of the same gem. And now Jasper loves fusion. Sure, I'm thinking it's some dirty, cheap tactic that's not needed, unless in dire situations, to something that's an absolute. And the Diamonds won't be happy with that at all. So even if she doesn't realize it yet, she's no longer on their side. Right now, she's just kind of on her own side, on her own corruption. And that's kind of sad. But no need to feel bad for her yet. All in all, this episode gets an A+. I was completely jaw-dropped, and I'm so glad they handled this topic with such great respect. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Comment down below your thoughts. Did you too connect to this episode? Let me know. Awestruck Vox, signing out.